Hello and welcome to another instalment of our very special Rock Sound Awards powered by EMP.co.uk. I'm Will Cross, junior editor at the magazine and the host of our weekly Friday podcast. Oh man, we've been so excited to get this off the ground. We've been teasing it across the socials on our normal podcast, all sorts of stuff. It feels so huge to be able to be doing this. So, before we do anything else, in case you don't know, head to awards.rocksound.tv right now to pick up your Rock Sound Awards bundle, featuring all 10 of our Rock Sound Awards winners across 10 individual limited edition super amazing covers. Also featuring exclusive interviews, photos with our winners, posters of their Rock Sound Awards cover shoots, 2018 calendar, Rock Sound Awards sticker, the top 50 releases of 2017. So much to get involved with. So excited. Brilliant stuff. The Rock Sound Awards powered by emp.co.uk, awards.rocksound.tv right now. Pick up your bundles right now. But now it's time for another feature-length chat with another one of our very special winners. So today we speak to our best British breakthrough Rock Sound Award winners. So this couldn't have gone to a more deserving band. This band had a crazy 2017. They've transformed from the visceral punk shows of their self-titled EP right through to their debut album, Eternity in Your Arms, which hit the UK Top 20 this year. Man, you've guessed who it is already. It's Creeper. We caught up with Will Gould to chat everything 2017. It turned into an amazing, nearly 40-minute chat about everything to do with the band's year. Absolutely insane. So let's go. This is Will Gould from our Best British Breakthrough Rock Sound Award winners, Creeper. Let's do it. I'd like to present to you the Rock Sound Best British Breakthrough Award for 2017. I mean, obviously, Eternity in Your Arms has been amazing. It's been an absolutely incredible era for Creeper, and we want to recognise that. So how does it feel to have won the award?
It's wonderful. Thank you very much. It's winning awards is never something that we ever thought we would do, you know. So it's we kind of started this band just for fun at first, and it's taken over our whole lives. It's such a lovely feeling to be recognised by a magazine that we've grown up reading, and by people that we respect. It's really nice it's lovely to have some recognition. It's great. So we're very, very grateful and humbled to receive this award.
Oh, amazing. Absolute pleasure. I mean, so yeah, I'd just like to kind of talk about the year as a whole, really, and just get a sense of how it's been across the board. So let's take it back to this time a year ago. So the level of hype coming into 2017 was massive. I mean, Eternity in Your Arms was done by the end of the year. You were already releasing singles, so obviously, there was Suzanne and Hiding with Boys, and like they were all coming out to a really positive reaction. Was there a massive amount of nerves, especially off of how well The Stranger had done?
I think those sorts of things have become a little bit more of a pressure. At this point, but it's at the time. I always find the best thing to do when you're doing anything creative is to try and remove any sort of expectation or any sort of pressure from it completely, and just make something that you think is good and that you believe in, and that you would, to try and be the thing that you'd like to see in the world, I guess, and. So we were very confident in what we made, and if it failed, then that would have been absolutely fine as well. I think that's the magic of making something you're proud of and making it something for yourself first and foremost. Is that you never spend much time thinking about other people, which is kind of selfish, but it's also absolutely the right thing to do, I think.
Awesome, yeah, because obviously last time we spoke, I saw you when The Stranger was released, with the Underworld show, and like that whole cycle was amazing, and it felt like there was so much buzz around it, and there was so much happening, and there was no one else like that who sounded like you guys, and it was so exciting. And then, as I say, Suzanne dropped this really positive response, and then as we went towards Christmas, Hiding with Boys was the same. Were there any points where it almost got overwhelming? In fact, there was so much going on and so much kind of excitement. Was it just did you just feed off that, and were you guys just excited, like you say, you were super confident with the album, or was it overwhelming at any point?
Yeah, it was around that sort of time that we started getting recognised out quite a lot, and so and that made things kind of weird, someone taking a picture of you, trying to do it like secretly as you're in a shop, just you doing normal things. So stuff like that was really weird, and because I think things have kind of hit a fever pitch around that campaign. And what was very exciting for us really was that all of the ideas that we'd had seemed to kind of be working out, because it could have gone a number of different ways. it was like the campaign itself with the missing campaign and that lead up to these videos. People had to work these things, but we weren't telling them to tune into the rock show at that time. There was a hangman puzzle that they had to solve that would lead them there. And so there was plenty of, there's a million ways things could have gone awry, you know? And especially like Suzanne and Hiding with Boys, there was certainly more like bombastic sounds on those two songs that we released and in kind of comparison to what we'd done before. So it was nice that people took the plunge of us and kind of embraced the new ideas we had. Everyone, I feel like the people who know us and like know our band were expecting us to do something different, but we tried to do something like that would be a significant, like, bold step forwards, and that's what we're trying to do every time. You know, we try to do that with the EPs as well. But yeah, it can get, it can make you kind of feel a little bit overwhelmed when something's done so well and you're suddenly in this position. But I think we try to remember that everything's temporary and everything's for the moment. And if you try to make one moment last forever, well, that's just impossible, isn't it? So we needed to try and move on to the next thing. Always thinking like 5 or 10 steps ahead of the move we're currently on. I think that's kind of the aim of the game with Creeper. So it makes it very difficult to kind of worry about how this thing you're about to release is going to go when you've already got your mind set on the next one. You know?
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, because say last time we spoke, we had a chat a lot about not wanting to do the same thing twice and things like that. And with that in mind, and the fact that you were taking a plunge, and there were a lot of different things for Creeper on the album. Was there a real creative verve in that sense in the studio? You know, I mean, like we touched on I Choose to Live and Crickets last time we chatted, and especially based on the fact that you like you say, you never want to do the same thing twice, and you've always got your sights on the next thing. I mean, how was the studio atmosphere with Eternity? Like, did you kind of know that what you had on your hands was something altogether very different to anything else out there?
I knew that we were it was a very stressful environment the whole time. It was very stressful, I remember, because we decided to do it in secret in between touring so that we wouldn't tell the audience. So we didn't take a break in our tour cycle, so that to go in the conventional way you would, to go away and write a record, we were just kind of using the weeks in between tours to go in and record parts and do things. And I remember, I think Creeper inherently are quite a difficult group to work with. And I always really admire our record label and our manager and our booking agent and people like that who put up with us, because we are a fucking nightmare. Not in like a divish way at all. We're not like that. It's just that, for example, they were asking us for demos around this. We were on tour with. Who were we on tour with? I can't quite recall. We were supposed to write these demos around this time for the album, and we didn't write anything at all because there was loads of things going on. Hannah and Ollie had just joined, and we were supposed to be demoing to go up to the album. We didn't do anything. Then me and Ian wrote 3 hardcore songs, and then we were trying to flesh out this record. And the way we do it is we'll have a whiteboard and we'll have like a bunch of different types of song we want to write, and the order, the structure is very important to us. So we wrote just the hardcore songs, we bashed those out. And then so the first demos that Warner heard of for this album all sounded like fast hardcore punk songs. I think they were freaking out about that. Then we sent them a country song. So they're it was initially quite difficult for them to take in. And I remember really vividly playing it to a publisher. It was a nightmare because we kind of blocked everyone out of the studio as well. People from the label were interested in hearing stuff, and we decided that was a bad idea, stupidly really. It was really, we just decided to block ourselves in and do our own thing. We knew Neil and very well. Obviously he's recorded all of our stuff, Neil Kennedy. And so we just kind of, it was very isolated. We were just inside doing this, making this weird record, and the publisher came in one day to hear it, and he heard it in its very earliest form, which was this kind of it was almost like an hour-long kind of opus that had had an intro song on it that sounded a bit like 5 Years, that David Bowie song, and I love that song that we did as well, but we had to lose it. The record was so overweighted. And so it had this kind of this really strange intro that had all this stuff about drinking the Kool-Aid of of age. It was ridiculous. It was a ridiculous thing we had at the beginning, and then we had like another song that sounded like Go West by the Pet Shop Boys, and we had it had a 50s Elvis Presley middle section as well. It was really cool, that bit. And we had all this stuff. We had this song that Hannah just played organ on. That was just it was just an organ, an organ song, an all organ. There was no vocals on it. It was just organ. And I remember him sitting there, and then it went into, like, it had all these transitions. There was another song where Ian had put loads of thunderclaps instead of the drums on. And he had this huge thing from, you know, we were like trying to aim for the rafters, but the thing was we were always going to trim it back at some point and make it more, make it tidier. But I remember him hearing that whole record in its earliest form, and just being sat there, like, I think he went through like a few different cups of tea. You know, like when you normally show someone like how a record sounds, let us have a drink and listen to it. It was like getting through it, you know. It was just heavy, and it was a heavy thing to do. Like, I think on paper, what a lot of people would have liked Creeper to have done is just become like a spooky pop punk band, like to be involved in that pop punk scene and just do some spooky songs. And unfortunately, we were never going to do that. That was just never something that was, you know, there's elements of that in our sound. But so I think, like, you know, to some people who were expecting us just to write something different, they got something completely else. And you know what? Like, I remember someone from the label saying that it was one of the best reviewed records they'd ever worked in the end.
Wow.
So I was like really proud of that, because it kind of showed that that, you know, if they kind of kept with us, we were going to make it was all going to be okay, you know, like, and it kind of gives us them faith in us in the future the next time we do something.
That's amazing. It's a crazy story. I mean, did any of those original songs that you were telling about, did any of them survive? I mean, are they things that could end up becoming future Creeper songs, or are they all scrapped?
We had them all recorded. They're somewhere. I've been talking for a long time about doing a director's cut of the record and returning it to its original form. Yeah, I don't know how if that's going to happen or not. I have no idea, but I keep bringing it up all the time because I think it will be really fun to have that out there in the world, you know.
Yeah.
And the way it originally was, it was a difficult thing to listen to, though. You know, it's you know, we were on tour with pop punk bands all the time, and suddenly there's this fucking opus. It's a hard thing to pick up at the merch table and take home and digest, I think, at times, despite how poppy the record is, I guess. So I don't know. I very much doubt that we'll use those songs for anything other than a re-release at some point, if we ever got a chance to do that. I know the band would like that, because they represent an era and a time of the band. You know, this is we'll never write the same thing again. And these are Calatart songs, really. So it's a whole era of the band that they're associated with.
Amazing. That's so exciting. I mean, in terms of the album itself as well, obviously it hit the UK top 20, which is a massive achievement for a debut, and just in general, absolutely amazing.
Do you know, we would have been top 10 if it wasn't on Father's Day.
Oh, no!
It was Father's Day. Yeah, like this is what everyone always says to us. We would have been top 10 if it wasn't Father's Day. Oh. And so it sucks. You know, there's been records that have been number one recently that have sold only slightly over what we did. I'm still very, very proud, though. I never ever thought in a million years that one of our projects would be like kind of accepted like that by the mainstream, I guess, and enter some sort of official chart like that. Like it was a huge accomplishment for us, you know. And that was something we were really proud of. It's the sort of thing you can say to your dad about, you know, like, oh, Dad, I'm on the chart, you know, actually in the chart, like, and that was really cool.
Amazing. Yeah, no, I remember when the week came out, when all the vinyl literally sold out across the country in all the record stores. I was like, man, this is insane. And I mean, as well, with the tour around that as well, you know, we chatted a little bit about this last time, but it felt like a real watershed moment for the band as well, in that, you know, it was kind of there was still that kind of visceral punk edge to it, but it felt very grand and theatrical as well. And it felt like the real kind of meeting of the two kind of like main worlds of Creeper. Like, does that represent where you guys were in 2017? Obviously, you know, I'm sure you're going to go on to Metamorphose again, but does that tour in particular was that a real watershed moment? Did it kind of really represent where you guys were post Eternity in Your Arms being recorded?
I think it was like the step into the sort of thing that we had envisioned. Like when we hadn't envisioned it originally because we never thought we'd play anything but the Joiners in Southampton. But every time we've been given a little bit of rope, we've always tried to do something special with it, you know. So the more we've been allowed to do in the bigger rooms that people have sort of sold out for us, the more of a show we want to put on, you know, and to make it unique and special and something that's worth going outside for. So yeah, like I think it really did represent that. But you know, you have to bear in mind as well that the tour we did just before that headline tour is one of my favorite tours. This was for the headline tour where we were on tour of Waterparks in the United States, and it hasn't been documented very well, that tour, but it's probably my favorite tour we've ever done. Because we were out in America, and we were in a converted party bus driving around that our friend Dirk had sorted us out. He borrowed all this gear. We had like the Bled bass cab, and like Hannah had a keyboard that didn't have a sustain pedal. Like he had like a DJ setting on it, and we were just borrowing all this gear. And inside that bus, there were loads of weapons for some reason. Like it was his brother's bus. There was like a bow and arrow. There was a nightstick. There was like a machete. There's all this stuff in there.
Hell.
And we got pulled over by the cops a load of times, and we were sleeping next to each other. Hannah was sleeping on the parcel shelf. She called it a princess bunk, and the bus broke down like because it wasn't suitable for touring and traveling across the country. It broke down like a million times. We had to get pulled out of this onion field by a farmer, this Mexican farmer came and saved us, and we were all really happy. And the mirror, the window above the parcel shelf smashed one night and just showered Sean with glass on his eyes.
Bloody hell.
And then there was a blizzard, and all the water came in through the window and broke Ollie's phone. And then at the end, a hornet's nest, some hornets just like nested in that little parcel shelf that just got in while we were doing the show. But like that was one of my favourite tours. It was so the tours following that was this big production. This really, you know, the first step into like our grand production. We had our own bus. There's kind of the flip side of things. But as much as the headline tour was absolutely a watershed moment for me and for the band, there's still like a really chaotic and exciting part of the band that often goes a little unnoticed. But that was it. Literally, it's like the two sides of the coin, and I love them both quite dearly. You know,
that's absolutely amazing. I mean, yeah, because with that in mind as well, like you say, you guys can kind of, it's almost like you can fit into so many different things. You know, like you say, there's that kind of like more sort of crazy side to the band, like with the tour with Waterparks, and then the grander tour which is the headline tour, and that obviously carries over into your sound as well. In that, you know, we've chatted about the album being so eclectic and being there's so many different styles and influences on there. Do you think that kind of ties into, and I think that's definitely continuing with it as you expand the Creeper sound? I mean, do you think that ties in with being able to tour with bands like, you know, Waterparks and As It Is, as much as you can tour with bands like Can't Swim and Milk Teeth? And do you think you guys have found such an eclectic style that, you know, you can put your feet in so many different worlds? I mean, does it feel like that being inside the band?
It feels... I think that the thing we've always wanted with Creeper was like a freedom to be able to do whatever we felt was necessary for the band, you know? And what I was talking to you about earlier on, when I know it sounds like just a thing I'm saying, but like we don't ever do anything with an audience in mind in terms of like what we're creating. We're trying to serve ourselves a lot of the time. So yeah, like going into the songwriting, I always wanted Creeper to become like this rock band that the only thing you'd expect is us to mix it up, you know, like you'd kind of expect the unexpected a little bit. I remember listening to Fleetwood Mac and listening to Rumours around the time of the album, and thinking how it was really cool how Fleetwood Mac was almost like a collective rather than just like there wasn't just one voice of Fleetwood Mac. There was many voices. Wasn't just one sound. There was a few different things going on and over the years, and I remember thinking that would be a really nice thing to be like. And also, I think that some of that comes from the attention span is just so short. so like there will be something happening in the UK, and we'll be so far behind on what's going on in terms of what's cool or something, like with bands. And if we are into something, it tends to be like really intensely for a minute and then not at all again. And so yeah, like I think mixing it up makes it fun to play, keeps it remaining interesting. I think if I had to write VCR a million times over and have a career out of making music just like that, I think I'd just stop doing it. Stop being in a band, because it's not fun for me. It's not challenging. There's no it doesn't seem very artistic. Yeah, I feel like it's an absolute. It is of the most importance that we keep challenging and changing and being able to fit on different bills and play with the different types of bands you get to play with is mad, you know. I remember in 1 year we played with like Frank Carter and Moose Blood, and we toured Bayside, and we did just doing all these different types of alternative tours. And I remember feeling very lucky to be in a band that would be considered for that. You know, it's crazy to be wanted on things, you know, and to be a band that people put up with us being like really ridiculous and theatrical, and you know, because they haven't seen it for a while, or they want us to play with their band and they sound nothing like us, but like trying to fit somehow. It's a really nice feeling. I think we're very lucky with that. I don't again, that wasn't a very conscious thing. It wasn't like let's do a lot of different things so we can play with all these different artists. It's just worked out perfect, and I hope we can just continue to do that, because I'd love to tour with some more of the some more mainstream indie stuff. I'd love to tour with some hardcore bands. I'd love to do everything and anything, I guess.
That's so cool. Yeah. I mean, because I remember last time as well, like you said that one of the things with Creeper is that it's hard for you to pin down exactly what Creeper is. And I mean, like, is that quite a positive thing then, in that, you know, you're saying that it's a very organic thing, a very natural thing, that, you know, you've got such an eclectic style. Will that very much determine how you go forward as a band? Like you say, I mean, we kind of touched on the potential of future Creeper material last time we spoke as well, and you were saying that, you know, it's likely that it won't sound anything like you've done before. Is that very much how you think it's going to go?
Yeah, I think I don't know. Like, it's difficult to say. Like, at the moment, it's difficult to say if we'll even do another record. You know, it's trying to make sure that everything makes sense. Everything's got to make sense, and it's kind of hard to explain. It's not as easy as like going into a studio and just writing songs for it. You know,
yeah.
It's got to have, the whole thing's got to have like a kind of synchronize and feel worthwhile. Obviously, people want us to write another record at the moment, but like, and you know, I'd like to say that we will, but it's uncertain at this point what we'll do. But if we did do something else, it would definitely be different. It would, we wouldn't stand still. It would. I think the band would die on the day that it stands still. I'd much rather us be able to hang up the boots rather than and with our creative integrity intact, rather than like start rehashing old things because we need to pay some bills, you know?
Yeah, for sure, man. I wholly respect that as well. I mean, you know, you had Warped Tour as well this summer. How was that? I mean, because that can be notoriously difficult, especially for British bands trying to break the States and things like that. How was it for Creeper? Was it a good experience? Did you learn a lot? Was it a great experience, or were there some quite tough times as well?
Warped Tour is a different beast entirely, and America is something that it's still very early for us. You know, we have only toured America a few times, and it's always been on one coast. So this is the first full US tour we ever did with the band. It was 2 months long, 56 days, I think, in total, and it was very, very. It was like the first month. I kept saying to everybody, everyone is just, you know, being a baby about this. Like, this is fine. I don't understand what everyone's problem is with the Warped Tour. This is just like touring, you know. It's fine, whatever. And then the second month kicked in, and I definitely struggled on the second month personally. The others absolutely loved it. They were like Sean was Mr. Warped Tour. Sean's whole life, he just wanted to be on. He used to watch roadies, and like Sean's the type of guy who'll go to a gig on his own. He just loves stuff. He just loves like the camaraderie and meeting other people and other punks and stuff and being involved in that. So Water's always been his dream. He would unload the truck with the guys every day who were working there. He'd be up before everyone else, sorting all that stuff out, and it was amazing. It was really, really impressive to see that. And the other guys really, really did very well. Like Hannah's boyfriend, Pals, who was the drum tech from Nick Deep, he was out there, so he stayed on our bus a few times, and we were in this little bandwagon, which was really fun. But the difficulty came from me, I think, where on days where you don't want to see anybody, which is a really hard thing to talk about, but I think it's becoming like a lot more of a topic that is kind of people are discussing, I guess. You have some days where you don't want to see anybody and you're part of a touring package where everyone knows everyone and there's a huge number of you every day. It's difficult, and just some days I would wake up, we'd be playing super early, and like sleeping was really hard on the bandwagon. I was in the top bunk because normally I can sleep anywhere, and the other guys didn't want to go up there, so I did. And I found it really difficult to sleep, so I started taking sleeping tablets every day and getting really drunk, taking sleeping tablets and going to sleep. And so when I'd wake up and we'd find out we were on first that day, because it's random every day, you know, like some days we'd find out we were on first. And in that situation, I had to get up, shave my face, sort my hair out, and I was wearing all this purple paint. I had to paint my face, and then by the time I'd walked to the stage, all the purple paint had come off anyway, because it was so hot. And then I was having to be in front on stage immediately, which is fine because I'm in charge of that situation. I know, you know, I have I can do the show, you know, in a lot of different headspaces. But like it's difficult afterwards coming down and having to meet loads and loads of people, which is great. I like doing that too, but it's not as easy as. So I found the whole. I was struggling a little bit on the second month, and I had a really fun time though, all the same. And I made some friends that I speak to all the time, even now. So it's you know, it's a really everything I think you've heard about Waltz is probably true. It's just it's challenging and it's fun, and you get to see some of your favorite bands every day. It's great. It's really, really good for that sort of thing.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I can completely understand that. I mean, on the flip side of that as well, I mean, I saw you guys at Download this year, and that really felt like a potentially legendary moment for that festival. I mean, I remember, you know, it was just like you could hear a pin drop. It was absolutely amazing, and that was just before Warped. Was that a real moment where you thought, you know, this band could potentially go years and years into the future? Did it feel like that for you as a band?
We were the Download thing was very strange because not many people know this either, but we out on the site we were on second on the main stage, and our guitar tech went out. We had an in-ear system that we had. It was an in-house in-ear system at the festival. So our guitar tech went out and our drum tech went out and tested all our gear, but they couldn't play everything together because you can't have a sound check. So there was no way of knowing what was going to be in our mixes, in our ears, if everything was going to be loud enough or anything. So when we came out on stage, I only had bass and drums in my ears. That's all I could hear on the stage was bass and drums. And there was no way of our set starts with Black Rain and it goes straight into another song straight after that on that festival. And it basically meant I had no gap where I could tell anybody that I couldn't hear what was going on. So I just had to sing and try and pitch through the bass. And there was loads of timing things where the keys and Hannah's vocal will cue me that I couldn't hear. So it was like terror. The first two songs it was really really hard to relax because I was having to try and work overtime to try and make sure I knew what was going on with my ears. But it ended up being this really kind of poignant moment, I think. I remember walking down the catwalk and I remember saying to Matt, our tech, before, Matt used to play in a band called Howard's Alias, who I used to go see all the time growing up, and he works with us now, and he's like a very close friend of the band. He kind of looks after us a lot. And I was saying to him, I was like, it would be really cool to do some Freddy stuff, you know, down that catwalk, you know, and then when I was there, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do that. I don't know. Like, it seemed like so much bigger in real life. And I just had that whole problem with the in-ears as well. And so I didn't know quite what to do. And then I just remember thinking halfway through the set, I was like, fuck it. Like, you know, you've been coming to this festival since 2001. And I've been going to the Ozfest, you know. This is the moment. Like, it's kind of, you know, fight or flight a little bit here. So And I remember doing that and thinking that it was just really bizarre. Like for a second, like nothing seemed daunting anymore. And I was closer to our audience, which is always like the solidifier for us. They always kind of keep us going. And it was like a really special moment. I don't really think that, I always, I don't really think that Creeper's a band that goes, well, this is going to, this means that we can probably carry on for X amount of time. It was more of a thing where we were saying, oh wow, this is a moment. Like we need to work out what the next moment is going to be. We need to try and make sure the next thing we do is as special as this. So yeah, but like I really felt like a lot of what made Download special was the audience. They were there, and the people that have been there in the front row. We were on early, and they were there on the front row for us. And I can't ever really thank people like that enough, because if you've ever been on stage before, if you've ever really hard on something, you know what it's like to, how important that support is. It was a really special thing. And I think the Creeper, we're very, very lucky to have such a crazy amount of support from people. So yeah, that certainly was a watershed moment for me.
Amazing, yeah. I mean, I remember watching. I remember looking round, and everyone was just transfixed on the stage. Like no one was like looking at the phone or chatting to each other. It felt like the audience was so in tune with you guys, and like as I say, Misery. As I say, you could just hear a pin drop. It was an absolutely beautiful moment. I mean, with all that in mind, and like amazing, potentially legendary performances like that now under your belt, we chatted last time about the Theatre of Fear. Again, something completely different and hugely mysterious. That is really testament to the fact that you guys really are like never doing the same thing twice. In terms of that finishing the year, is that going to be a real kind of end of chapter moment for the band, do you think?
I think I feel like in terms of this year, it's been such a crazy year for the band. We've been all over the world, and and we've done all this crazy stuff this year. It's been really, really mad, and we just wanted to try and see if we had the opportunity to up it again, like with something of our own. We've been offered so many tours around that sort of time from other bands, like support tours, and we just we were really like banking on like we could do all these things. It's really awesome that people even want us to do this stuff, but like wouldn't it be cooler to try and up it again? Like try and go for the 1-2 punch here and try and finish the year on a high. When that first tour happened, it was just days after the album came out. People had only had the record in their, like in their lives for such a sort of small amount of time. People have had it for a number of months now, and they haven't had us in the country for a while. And so it's incredibly exciting to finally to attempt this something truly ambitious. We always try and approach everything with ambition. People like the people we've been working with on this tour, everyone was saying, This is very ambitious. so I'm hoping that the team of people we have around us, again, Creeper is a collective of people. So not just a band, but like we have people who like Jay Wennington, our photographer. He has created a lot of things for us, not just photos, but graphics and all sorts of things over the years. We have these incredible production people that work with us, have beginning to work with us now, that help make these ideas come into reality. It should be something, and I really hope that people appreciate the intent behind it.
Oh,
well, we shall see, I guess.
I mean, I guess then just to finish up, we've talked a lot about, it sounds like the future is very much unwritten in the best possible way, in that, you could do, like with the Theatre of Fear and like what you've done across the year, you could do, the sky is the limit for what you could do with Creeper as we go into 2018. Does it feel like that for you? Do you feel that you have literally like an amazing amount of creative freedom, and is that must be so exciting if so?
Yeah, like as I said, like we just wouldn't be the band if we couldn't do what we wanted. I think as things grow and things get bigger, it becomes harder. There are when you reach these kind of milestones, and I think every band has them. Over time, I've seen bands that have been around a little longer than us just do the underworld and hit these markers as well. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, like that was such a moment for us, the underworld, so you can't help but look forward a little bit and go, oh well, so what is the next thing in the line of what in the grand scheme, the blueprint of a band? What should it be? But I actually feel like that is perhaps something that works to your detriment, and that it's not very productive. I think that what's more beneficial for Creeper is that we can do anything. We shouldn't just be doing what other bands are doing all the time. We shouldn't just be, after we do Shepherd's Bush, we should do this one. We should do this. Like it shouldn't always be like that. There should be a reason to come out and go to these things rather than just to see us in a bigger room. There should be a reason we're doing it every time. Everything needs context, and everything needs to be right. That's why when I talk to you about the record, Will, I'm the new one. If we did another record, did a new record, it would have to be right before I could say, before we agree to do it. I think the whole thing has to fit together, and there's so many moving parts with a Creeper release. And maybe that sounds a little pretentious, but we always have been absolutely pretentious.
Amazing. That couldn't be a more perfect place to end, Will. I'd say, man.
Our guitar tech, Matt, he's been Howard Alias. We always call him arrogant and unapproachable because back when Howard Alias were a band on the Punktastic forums, people used to call him that all the time, arrogant and unapproachable. And I always love it. I think sometimes the best descriptions are the ones from your worst enemies, I guess. And it's funny because he knows that about himself. He was like, "Yeah, I am arrogant and unapproachable." It's so mean, isn't it? People are just horrible, aren't they?
Yeah, no, I guess so. But very funny though. Yeah.
If you haven't realised the worst qualities about yourself yet, you should try and start a band. Someone will tell you.
Amazing. So that was our very special chat with Will Gould from Creeper. Absolutely amazing. What a guy, what a band. As you've just heard, that band have had an absolutely insane career and a particularly insane year. So to hear all the stories is just so fascinating. Really brilliant stuff. So before we go, head to awards.rocksound.tv right now to pick up your Rock Sound Awards bundle. 10 limited edition individual covers featuring all 10 of our Rock Sound Awards winners, featuring exclusive interviews, photos, posters of all 10 of our winners from their Rock Sound Awards cover shoots, the 2018 calendar, Rock Sound Awards sticker, the top 50 releases of 2017. So much going on. The Rock Sound Awards powered by emp.co.uk. Pick up your bundles right now at awards.rocksound.tv. Tomorrow we will be back again with another feature-length chat with another one of our very special winners. We will see you then. It's going to be good. Bye. It's going to be good. Bye. It's going to be